It started like any other Tuesday. I was running late for work, the kind of late where you skip breakfast, ignore your unread messages, and pray for all green lights. I had just pulled out of the driveway when my phone buzzed again. It was him, Daniel. He said he needed a ride. Nothing dramatic, just a short message, "Hey, can you give me a quick lift? It's kind of urgent." I didn't even think twice. I mean, when someone you've known for years, someone you trust, asks for something that simple, you don't expect it to turn your whole world upside down. But that's exactly what happened. Daniel wasn't just some acquaintance. We had history, real history. We grew up in the same neighborhood. He was the kind of guy who remembered your birthday, helped your mom with the groceries, and called you at 2 a.m. just to check if you were okay after a rough day. For years, I saw him as a constant, like a reliable thread woven through all the messy parts of life. That morning, I figured he might be going through something. He had sounded off the past few days, but I didn't push. I thought maybe a quick drive and a coffee talk would help. I pulled up to the curb where he said to meet. He was already waiting, pacing, looking over his shoulder every few seconds. My heart did a weird little skip, but I ignored it. Maybe he was just anxious. Maybe he didn't sleep. As he got in the car, he barely looked at me. No smile. No small talk. Just a quiet, "Let's go." I asked where to, and he mumbled something about a stop near the old train station, not far from downtown. Something in his tone felt off, but again, I brushed it aside. I didn't know then, but that moment, those 5 seconds of silence, were the beginning of everything falling apart. The drive was quiet. Tense. My questions were met with vague answers. He kept glancing at his phone, typing, deleting, typing again. I thought about turning back. I even reached for the indicator at one point, ready to pull over and ask what was really going on. But I didn't. I kept driving. And then, we stopped. He asked me to wait. Said he'd only be a minute. But he wasn't gone for just a minute. He was gone long enough for doubt to creep in, for my stomach to twist, for my heart to start racing in a way that felt different, wrong. What happened next changed everything I thought I knew about him, about trust, about myself. I wish I could say I saw it coming. I wish I had turned the car around. But I didn't. And now, I can't stop crying. Because what he really needed wasn't a ride. It was a way out. And I was just the fool holding the keys. The truth hit harder than I ever imagined, and that's where everything started to unravel. I sat there in the car, engine still running, staring at the empty seat beside me. My fingers drummed against the steering wheel, each second dragging longer than the last. I kept checking the mirrors, expecting him to walk back at any moment, but the sidewalk stayed empty. I picked up my phone, typed out a quick "everything okay," but didn't hit send. Something told me not to. Something didn't feel right. The place he asked me to stop at, it wasn't just some random corner. It was an old, half-abandoned industrial area, the kind where the buildings were more graffiti than brick and the only people around seemed like they didn't want to be seen. I'd been there once before, years ago, and even then, it had a strange energy. I remember thinking, why here? Why now? But I stayed. Because it was Daniel. Because I thought he trusted me enough to let me in. I had no idea he was using that trust for something else. I looked at his bag. He'd left it in the back seat. Part of me wanted to open it, maybe find some clue about what he was doing. But I didn't. I couldn't. It felt like crossing a line. I didn't know I was already caught in something way past lines. The minutes kept ticking. 10 turned to 20. I tried calling, no answer. Texted, still nothing. That sinking feeling in my stomach had grown heavier, like a weight pressing down on my chest. This wasn't just someone running an errand. He was hiding something. And I had unknowingly become part of it. What was I helping him do? What was I a part of? The more I sat there, the more I realized Daniel wasn't coming back. I finally turned off the engine. My hands were shaking, and my throat felt dry. 100 thoughts ran through my mind. Was he in trouble? Was someone after him? Or worse, had he dragged me into something illegal? The fear started to sink deeper, not just for him, but for myself. What if someone saw my car here? What if the wrong person thought I was involved in whatever he was doing? Every passing car, every distant sound made me flinch. The longer I waited, the more I started to feel like I didn't really know Daniel at all. I thought back to the past few months. He'd been different. Distant. He stopped showing up to our usual weekend meetups. His messages got shorter. He ignored calls sometimes. I chalked it up to stress or maybe just life getting in the way. But now, all those little changes felt like signs I had missed. Red flags I brushed off because I trusted him. Because I believed the version of him I had always known. I reached for the bag in the back seat again, this time slower. I wasn't trying to snoop, I was scared. I just wanted answers. But before I could unzip it, my phone lit up. Unknown number. I stared at it, heart racing. I picked up. A man's voice. Calm, but firm. Leave the bag where it is. And walk away. This isn't your business. My blood ran cold. I didn't know this voice. I didn't know what he meant, or how he knew I was even near the bag. My mind was spinning. Was someone watching me? Was Daniel in danger, or was I the one in danger now? I wasn't just waiting anymore. I was stuck in something much bigger than I ever agreed to. I froze, phone still pressed to my ear, heart pounding so loud I could barely hear the voice anymore. But his words echoed in my mind, leave the bag. Walk away. My first instinct was to look around, and when I did, I noticed a black sedan parked down the street. I hadn't seen it before. The windows were tinted, and the engine was running. I couldn't see who was inside, but somehow I knew they were watching me. The silence around me suddenly felt heavier, like the air itself had turned against me. I ended the call without saying a word and slowly placed the phone in my lap. My hands were damp. My whole body felt stiff. I kept telling myself this couldn't be real. Daniel wouldn't put me in danger. He wouldn't leave me like this. But the longer I stared at that bag, the more I started to wonder what was inside it. What had I unknowingly been driving around with? I glanced back at the black car. It hadn't moved. But I felt like I was being pulled into something dark, something I didn't understand. I debated calling the police, but what would I say? That my friend left a suspicious bag in my car and vanished? That a stranger threatened me over the phone? I had no proof. And worse, what if this was Daniel's mess? Reporting it might only make things worse, for him, or for me. A sudden knock on the passenger side window jolted me. I turned my head sharply, and it wasn't Daniel. It was a man I had never seen before, wearing sunglasses and a blank expression. He gestured for me to unlock the door. And in that split second, I realized I was no longer just a bystander. I was the target now. I didn't unlock the door. I just stared at him, hoping he'd go away, hoping this was all some bizarre mistake. But he didn't flinch. He leaned in closer, tapped the window again, calm, almost polite. Like he knew he didn't need to raise his voice to get what he wanted. I mouthed, "Who are you?" but he didn't answer. He just pointed toward the bag in the back seat. That's when it hit me, he wasn't here for me. He was here for whatever Daniel had left behind. I shook my head and started the car, panic flooding my system. His expression didn't change, but he took a step back as I shifted into drive. My tires screeched as I pulled away from the curb, heart slamming in my chest. I didn't know where I was going, I just knew I had to get away. I couldn't call anyone. I didn't know who to trust anymore. And worst of all, I still hadn't heard a word from Daniel. 5 minutes down the road, my phone buzzed again. Another unknown number. This time I answered without thinking. A woman's voice this time, quiet, urgent. "You don't know what's in that bag, do you?" she asked. I slammed on the brakes in the middle of the road. "Who are you?" I whispered. "I can't say much," she said, "but Daniel didn't leave you. He was trying to protect you. You need to get somewhere safe." I was completely thrown. This didn't match the story I'd been playing in my head, that Daniel betrayed me, used me. Now someone was telling me he might be in trouble too? And that this was bigger than both of us? "Tell me what's in the bag," I begged. "I can't," she said quickly. "But if they catch you with it, they'll assume you were involved. You have about 10 minutes before they track your car. You need to ditch it. Now." My hands gripped the steering wheel tighter. Every direction suddenly felt dangerous. I looked at the bag in the rearview mirror like it was something alive, something waiting to destroy me. I wanted to scream, to cry, to run, but I couldn't do any of that. I had a choice to make. And I knew, whatever decision I made next would change everything. I pulled into an empty lot behind an old grocery store I used to visit with my dad as a kid. It was quiet there, familiar, in a strange way. I shut off the engine and sat still, breathing heavy. I stared at the bag in the rearview mirror. My heart was thudding so loud I thought I might actually pass out. That woman said I had 10 minutes. I didn't know how long it had been, but every second now felt like I was gambling with my life. I opened the door, grabbed the bag, and got out. I looked around, half expecting someone to jump out of the shadows. No one. Just the faint hum of traffic in the distance. I walked over to a dumpster near the alley and dropped the bag behind it. I didn't open it. I didn't need to anymore. Whatever was in there, it was never meant for me. I stepped back, took one last look, then turned and started walking. I didn't even know where I was going. I just knew I had to move. Then a car screeched into the lot behind me. I turned sharply. It wasn't the black sedan, it was Daniel. He jumped out of breath, eyes wild. "Where's the bag?" he shouted. My heart broke the second I saw him. He looked like a ghost of himself. I pointed toward the dumpster, and he ran to it without another word. I followed slowly, confused, scared, everything spinning. He opened the bag and sighed like he'd just come back to life. "It's still here," he whispered. "What is it, Daniel? What's going on?" I asked, my voice trembling. He looked at me, guilt in his eyes. "I was supposed to deliver this, but I couldn't do it. They threatened my sister. I thought if I hid it, if I used someone they wouldn't suspect, they'd leave her alone." I felt sick. Used. But I also saw the fear in his face. This wasn't about betrayal. It was desperation. Then came the twist I never saw coming. From the shadows, the woman who had called me stepped out. "Thank you," she said quietly, holding up a badge. "FBI. You did the right thing. We've been trying to catch them for months." Before I could respond, she added, "But you're not off the hook just yet." And just like that, my nightmare wasn't over. My legs felt weak as the woman stepped closer, her badge catching the light. Daniel stood frozen beside the dumpster, still holding the bag like it weighed more than just whatever was inside. I looked between the two of them, trying to make sense of everything. "Not off the hook?" I asked, voice shaking. I didn't even know what was going on. She nodded slowly. "We believe you. But being involved, even unknowingly, means you're part of the investigation now. There's paperwork. Questions. And we'll need a full statement." Daniel looked at me then. His face was a mixture of guilt and regret. "I never meant to drag you into this," he said. "I thought if I used someone close, they'd stay away from my family. I was wrong. I should have trusted you enough to tell you the truth from the start. Part of me wanted to scream at him. Part of me wanted to cry. But mostly, I felt exhausted, mentally and emotionally drained. I nodded, quietly agreeing to cooperate with the FBI, because at that point, I just wanted it all to end. Over the next few hours, agents arrived, took the bag, and started asking questions. I told them everything I knew, from the moment Daniel texted to the call from the unknown woman. They confirmed the bag was evidence in a much larger case: money laundering, illegal transfers, things I never imagined I'd be anywhere near. They said Daniel's information and decision to back out had helped them finally make arrests they'd been chasing for months. In the end, I wasn't charged. I was listed as a witness under duress. They let me go after the formalities, with a warning to be more careful about who I trust. Daniel was taken into protective custody for cooperating. We didn't say goodbye. Maybe we both knew some things couldn't be fixed with just an apology. Now, weeks later, I still wake up sometimes thinking I'm back in that car, waiting on a curb for someone I thought I knew. I still feel that moment, when trust shattered, when fear took over. He said he needed a ride. But what he really needed was a way out. And in helping him, I nearly lost myself. Sometimes, betrayal doesn't come with yelling or slammed doors. Sometimes it whispers quietly, wrapped in good intentions. And that's what hurts the most.